Did I say that right? I've been mentioning it this week, and I kept saying it backwards. So the daughterless mothers. No, the other way. Is it only gender relevant? Like, see, I'm an adoptee. I didn't have relatives until I made a couple. You know. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I identify probably on a far bigger scale. I mean, quite literally, once you become, a conscious person, and we know to question anything that we don't have a direct experience with, because conditioning is being all accepting of stuff that you're just told. So you really don't know. We're just accepting a story.
Sure.
So once I started questioning my reality on that scale, I thought, wow, I could actually have been planted here by aliens, hatched. I could be a whole different species. I mean, what do I actually know? So, I mean, when you have that kind of level of disconnect at your foundation, it's certainly, that played havoc, for the first entire non-conscious section of my life. So, and not in a good way. So what are the dynamics, and is it only gender related as far as what you discovered?
Most of the people that I work with are women. I mean, I definitely don't just advertise to women, but for some reason it tends to be women who seek treatment. I don't know why. And so that's most of my experiences with that. And then the woman whose work that I was going to kind of quote here, she said the same thing, that she's worked with some men, but that it tends to be women. But a lot of the feelings are the same. A lot of the feelings of loss and all of that are very similar if it's a man or a woman. But I guess the one thing for sure is that gender identification, what is a woman, how do I be a woman, that kind of thing, is more strong with women, and so it's more a loss of themselves in a certain kind of a way, or their idea of how they're going to develop themselves. But still, men or women, there's a lot of similarities. So the woman that I've been talking about, I found out about her 6 months ago or so, and she's an EFT practitioner, and her practice, it sounds like, is almost exclusively people who lost their mothers or identify as motherless. And what she created was, she called it missing mother syndrome, and it's not like any sort of psychological diagnosis or anything. It's just what she observed in her clients, like, over the years. And she said that, even if your mother has been physically present, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't identify this way, because there's a lot of women, if they're mentally ill, if they're really sick, if they just really didn't want children and this was forced on, situations where the woman wasn't prepared to be a mother for whatever reason, then they can be physically there, but then the emotions that you carry into later life are very similar and can be in some ways deeper because she was there. So there's this contortion of, I'm supposed to act like I have a mother, but I feel like I don't, or that kind of thing. Okay, so this is her list of what missing mother syndrome is. The first one is, you feel lost, out of place, or unsafe in the world. And I remember being like 21 and thinking, does the universe really want me here? It was just this kind of question mark in my mind. It sounds ridiculous to me now. It's clearly, if I'm here, the universe wants me here. I'm not so powerful that I could be here in the universe, actually. But I remember asking myself that question because there was this feeling that I wasn't sure. Okay, the second one is, there's an underlying sadness in your life, even if nothing's wrong. You tend to feel lonely and depressed, especially at other people's happy family gatherings. You hate your body or are unsure about being a woman. You have abandonment or anger issues that hurt your relationships. You experience social stress. You either try to stay invisible or you have a compulsion to be in the limelight. The next one is any major crisis in your life, like a divorce, job loss, or bereavement, throws you right back into the painful past. And I've found that not even necessarily a major crisis, it could be your friend stood you up or, that day and they were supposed to show, and there's this feeling like you were abandoned, like you start crying or something, and you think, whoa, this isn't about my friend. Even something that small can kind of throw you back into that part of you that still feels like an abandoned child. The next one is there's a lot of fear, anxiety, or even guilt and shame in your life. You feel homesick without knowing where home is. You are trying too hard to be happy and perfect. And perfectionism is generally a protection. It's a protection against something. And so you're kind of protecting yourself against more rejection and whatnot. You take rejection very personally, and you believe that everybody else has their act together except for you. So that's her missing mother syndrome list of conditions. And I would add to that, because I find this pretty often, the fear of being too dependent or needy around other people, and feeling like you have to do everything yourself and you can't get the help you need. That's not always, but especially if you had to grow up too fast and take over a bunch of responsibilities, then that's the way that you create stability in your life.
So all of these you treat or work with Psych-K and EFT. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm sorry, what did you say?
You treat all of those aspects, like you're using the Psych-K and EFT to remove those.
Yeah, I mean, I find that somebody comes in with one leading aspect or one thing that's going on in their life right now, like a relationship, where they just know, or they want a relationship and they know that they have abandonment issues, and so they come in and because they see the Motherless Daughter thing on my website, and they say, oh, I think this is affecting me. And so we usually have something that's present in their life right now, and we don't necessarily go down this list in any sort of particular way. It's very individual to the person, I guess. What I do with them is very individual to the person, because one person may have one of these much stronger than another or whatnot, and it's really important. The specifics of somebody's individual experience is very important, because one person's Gary Craig, who's the originator of EFT, says, it's not so much what happens to you, it's your response to it. And there's definitely common responses to certain things, but for one person, their mother dies when they're five, and they do pretty well. They're not, they're okay, and they don't have a lot of struggles in life. And somebody else decided that they were horrible and awful, and it was their fault. So they carry around all this guilt. And so when somebody comes to me, I kind of know that this stuff may be present with them, but I tend to work on whatever's presenting itself now in their life, and then it always goes back into the past pretty quickly. It's sort of following whatever's present now is really my message.
So why don't we we've talked a little bit about both, more EFT than Psych-K in the past, but let's talk about what the fundamentals of how each one of these processes is working to clear things for people.
Sure.
Whichever one you want to start with.
Yeah, so EFT it's basically like an emotional form of acupuncture, except you don't use needles. And the fundamental discovery statement of EFT is all negative emotion is caused by a disruption in the body's energy system. So you're tapping on all these different acupuncture points and clearing out the disruption in the energy system created by that emotion, and it's actually stored over time. So if you have a trauma when you're 7, you remember it again, and boom, you start feeling the feelings again, right? And so because it's in the present moment, then you can actually clear that out in the present moment, and it tends to be permanent. So what you often do with EFT is clear emotions or traumas, beliefs from the past, whatnot, tapping on these different energy points on the body and clearing out that